You look up at the night sky and you feel completely alone in the universe. But what if the sky has been looking back at you this entire time? Long before humanity ever learned how to strap a rocket to a metal tube and blast into the stars, something was already up there waiting for us. A massive, menacing object silently orbiting our planet in the freezing dark. It's known in classified circles as the Black Knight satellite, and it has been keeping a watchful eye on our species for a very, very long time.
Wait, a satellite? But didn't we just start putting things in space like 70 years ago? Who the hell put a giant camera up there before we even had airplanes?
That is exactly the question that has terrified the highest levels of global government for decades. The object weighs an estimated 13 tons, a massive payload that dwarfs early human satellites. More importantly, it sits in a highly specific polar orbit. This means it circles the Earth from north to south, mapping every single inch of the planet as the globe spins perfectly beneath it. It is the ultimate, inescapable vantage point for planetary surveillance. And the first person to realize it was up there wasn't a modern astronaut, but the greatest electrical genius in human history. In the summer of 1899, Nikola Tesla built a massive experimental radio transmitter in the mountains of Colorado Springs. He was attempting to track global lightning storms, but his sensitive equipment picked up something mathematically impossible. He intercepted a highly rhythmic, repeating radio signal coming directly from deep space. Tesla famously wrote that the signals felt intelligent, stating he felt a growing terror that he was the first human to hear a greeting from another planet.
Tesla caught an actual alien broadcast in 1899? Why isn't that the very first thing they teach us in science class?
Because the scientific community of his time aggressively mocked him. They told the public he was just hearing natural cosmic noise or experiencing glitches in his own experimental equipment. But decades later, modern scientists realized something chilling. Tesla's equipment was perfectly tuned to the exact frequency that the Black Knight satellite uses to broadcast its long-delayed radio echoes. He wasn't hallucinating. He simply picked up the cosmic phone before the rest of humanity even knew the network existed. Fast forward to the 1950s, the absolute peak of Cold War paranoia. In 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the globe by launching Sputnik 1, widely recognized as the first human-made satellite. But 3 entire years before Sputnik ever left the launch pad, American newspapers were running terrified, bold headlines. The U.S. Department of Defense had tracked a massive dark satellite maintaining a steady polar orbit around the Earth.
Let me get this straight. The Russians hadn't launched theirs yet, and the Americans thought the Russians did it, but neither of them actually had the technology to do it?
Exactly. In 1954, human aerospace engineering was completely incapable of achieving a polar orbit. It requires a tremendous amount of thrust that our primitive rockets simply could not generate. The Pentagon went into high alert, assuming it was a highly classified Soviet doomsday weapon. Meanwhile, the Soviets panicked, assuming it was a secret American spy platform. The horrifying truth was that it belonged to neither of them. It was a fully operational alien relic. For decades, the Black Knight remained a heavily classified ghost story, whispered only among military radar operators and intelligence agents. But in December 1998, the ghost was finally dragged into the light and caught on camera in crystal clear high definition. During the STS-88 mission, the Space Shuttle Endeavour was conducting operations on the International Space Station while taking routine photographs of the orbital workspace. The astronauts captured multiple high-res images of a terrifying, menacing black structure hovering ominously in the distance.
Hold up. You're saying NASA literally took 4,000 photos of a giant, heavily armored alien spaceship and they just uploaded them for everyone to see? How did they try to cover that up?
With an insultingly simple excuse. The official NASA statement claims that the terrifying, highly structured metallic object is just a dropped thermal blanket that floated away from an astronaut during a spacewalk. They expect the global public to believe that a thin, flimsy piece of foil somehow maintained a perfectly rigid, aerodynamic, and sinister shape while traveling at 17,000 miles per hour in orbit.
A thermal blanket? That thing looks like a heavily armored stealth bomber designed by Darth Vader. There is no physical way a piece of fabric holds that kind of shape.
Independent aerospace analysts completely agree with you. When you enhance the contrast and examine the geometry of the STS-88 photographs, the object clearly displays structural symmetry, metallic plating, and what appear to be long communication antennas. It is an artificial, heavy-duty craft. And once civilian astronomers finally started listening to the strange signals it was putting out, they decoded a message that completely shattered our understanding of human history. In the 1970s, a Scottish astronomer named Duncan Lunan decided to revisit the strange, delayed radio echoes that global scientists had been intercepting from orbit since the 1920s. He plotted the precise delay times of these radio pulses onto a simple two-dimensional graph. The random cosmic noise instantly formed a highly organized, recognizable pattern. It was a precise star map of the Epsilon Boötis constellation, a distant binary star system.
So the satellite was literally broadcasting its home address on repeat? But how does a simple star map shatter latter human history?
Because the map was completely out of date. Stars are not stationary. They drift and move across the galaxy over vast periods of time. When astronomical experts analyzed the specific alignment of the stars in the decoded map, they realized it didn't match our current night sky. The Black Knight's map depicted the Epsilon Boötis system exactly as it would have looked from Earth over 13,000 years ago.
Wait, 13,000 years? That's back during the last ice age. Human beings were basically living in caves and hunting mammoths with pointy sticks.
Exactly. And that impossible timeline brings us to a deeply unsettling scientific concept known as the zoo hypothesis. If an incredibly advanced extraterrestrial probe has been orbiting our planet for 13 millennia, why hasn't it initiated formal contact? Why haven't massive motherships descended from the clouds to introduce themselves? The zoo hypothesis suggests that the lack of contact isn't an accident. It is a strict, universally enforced quarantine.
So you're saying Earth is basically a galactic wildlife reserve? We are just the cosmic equivalent of a massive, heavily armed ant farm sitting on some alien's desk?
That is precisely the theory. When modern scientists study a remote, uncontacted tribe in the Amazon rainforest, they don't land a helicopter and hand them smartphones. They hide in the trees, use long-range cameras, and observe without interfering, intentionally avoiding the contamination of their natural cultural evolution. To a highly advanced ancient alien civilization, Earth is not a cosmic equal. We are an isolated, primitive, and highly aggressive species of primates locked in a planetary cage. Under this theory, the Black Knight satellite is not an invasion weapon, and it certainly isn't a diplomatic ambassador. It is simply a cosmic CCTV camera left behind by the zookeepers. For 13,000 years, it has been silently recording our entire biological and technological evolution, constantly broadcasting the data back to its creators. It watched us discover fire, build the pyramids, slaughter each other in endless global conflicts, and eventually detonate nuclear weapons.
Okay, but if we found their hidden camera with the space shuttle, doesn't that completely ruin the experiment? What happens when the zoo animals realize they are being watched and start building rockets to escape the enclosure?
That is the ultimate existential threat, and it perfectly explains the sudden military panic when the satellite was first detected on radar. According to the zoo hypothesis, once a quarantine species develops the technological capability to leave their enclosure and potentially infect the wider galaxy with their violent tendencies, the observers have to make a final choice. They either officially make contact and integrate the species into the galactic community, or they completely sterilize the cage and start over. The terrifying truth is that the Black Knight is still silently orbiting. This means the zookeepers haven't made their final decision yet. They're waiting to see if we can evolve past our destructive nature, or if we just end up wiping ourselves out first. So the next time you look up at the vast dark night sky, remember that it might not be an empty void. It is a one-way mirror, and the architects of the zoo are taking notes. Thank you for falling down the rabbit hole with us tonight on Two Weirdos. Do you think the Black Knight is just a piece of thermal space trash, or are we living inside an ancient cosmic zoo? Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below to feed the algorithm, and whatever you do, don't wave at the camera.